and we will. Okay, without further ado, so a little bit of an agenda for today. We're going to kick off with a little bit of an introduction and overview to the This Girl Can Sussex network. We have got some new faces today, which is great. And it's great to have a real variety on the call today from education settings and community settings as well. And on a personal point, it's good to see some male allies on the call, which is really good and critical if we're to understand the barriers that women and girls face to participating in sport and physical activity. For those that don't know me, my name is Nick Shellell and I'm the Strategic Workforce Officer and Children and Young People Safeguarding Lead for Active Sussex. My colleagues Gemma will be keeping an eye on the chat box today, and my colleague Ed, thankfully, is looking after the IT side of things. As many of you that know me, that is not my strong point. If you do have any issues today and you drop out, please do just rejoin using the link, and any issues, please feel free to contact Ed directly. So, as I say, here's the agenda for today. We're going to kick off with a little bit of an introduction and overview, and then we'll hand over to Naomi Bolton, the Development Manager for the Youth Sport Trust, for a bit of a keynote and the latest insights on girls' activity rates and what Youth Sport Trust are doing to engage girls in positive sport and physical activity experiences. And then we've got three amazing women to talk about what they have done locally to engage girls and young women in their sport and physical activity programs. After that, we will get into smaller breakout rooms where we will have further discussions, and you'll have an opportunity what you are doing and an opportunity to reflect on the presentations and the good practice shared today. At the end, we will share the resources and some things that might be of interest to you coming up before we finish. So, Active Sussex have supported This Girl Can since its inception in 2015 and have recruited a This Girl Can ambassador, Tess. And earlier in the year, we launched the This Girl Can Sussex network. And the main aim of this network is to inspire, empower and motivate more women and girls to be active and to break down some of those barriers that prevent so many from being active. We encourage all individuals and organisations to join the network and to be part of the movement and amplify the This Girl Can message across Sussex. So if you haven't done so already, hopefully you'll sign up after today. The network has gone from strength to strength since we've launched it, and we've now recruited a further This Girl Can ambassador and over 20 This Girl Can champions. And we've been using these amazing women to share their lived experiences of sport and physical activity, in line with a person like me approach to try and motivate, empower and inspire more women and girls to be active. Today's forum is going to focus specifically on engaging girls and young women in positive sport and physical activity experiences. You're going to hear the latest insights and get an opportunity to share good practice and have further discussions within the breakout rooms. So just quickly, I wanted to reference the new Sport England strategy, Uniting the Movement, that was launched earlier this year. This 10-year vision is to transform lives and communities through sport and physical activity. And I think it's important to highlight how This Girl Can fits into the strategy. Within the strategy, there are 5 big issues that Sport England and we want to tackle, which are on the screen there for you. And each one of them on their own would make a difference, but together we can have a profound and meaningful impact. And running throughout the whole strategy and everything that we do is a focus on tackling inequalities. And we all know that these have increased during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's vital that we work collaboratively to tackle the issues using sport and physical activity to ultimately make people's lives better. Now, we know what's really positive from our perspective is that one of those is positive experiences for children and young people. And we know that every child and young person has the right to experience sport and physical activity in a safe, positive and trusted environment with an equal chance to fulfill their potential and get all the benefits that come with being physically active. If we can provide those positive experiences at a young age, then we're giving them the foundation for a healthy, active lifestyle and increase the chances of them living a healthy and active lifestyle. Now, we know there are many issues that have exacerbated from the COVID-19 pandemic, and none more so for children and young people. Mental health issues have increased dramatically before the pandemic and will continue to be felt as we come out of it into the other side. Active Lives data shows us that women and girls are less active than men and face more barriers to being active. And so we really want to reduce the inequalities there and provide better experiences and break down those barriers. One of the things that will come out today is that it's important to listen to children and young people about what they want and build an offer that suits them and caters for every child and young person to be active so that they can achieve those benefits. Now that is, skipped along a little bit there. Now that's enough from me. I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker to you today. Naomi Bolton is Development Manager from Youth Sport Trust, and she's going to kick us off. Naomi, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm going to pass over to you.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks for that introduction, Nick, and thanks for having me along and inviting me along to the network to talk about YST's involvement and the work that we do prioritising girls. So for those of you that don't know, Youth Sport Trusts are a national charity that believe that every child should access the life-changing benefits that come from play and sport. And the work that we do focuses on happier, healthier young people achieving their potential, and that we do this through areas in our strategy. And this is through transforming PE in schools, removing barriers to sport, unlocking potential and empowering activism. And these four areas can be further categorized into equipping educators in the work that we do with their teachers and schools, and empowering change makers through the voice of our young people. And our work's insight driven and focuses on the need to strengthen the foundations, which we do through our advocacy work with government and wider stakeholders, using our seat at the table to advise and influence around the direction of focus for funding or policy. So that's just a little bit of an introduction about Youth Sport Trust. If you flip onto the next slide, Nick. Thank you. I'm going to start off here by drawing your attention to this report. So on the screen, you may want to take a further read, but I'm going to give a few highlights. So the insight that's captured in this new report were commissioned to mark the 25th anniversary of Youth Sport Trust, and we found it will be essential to shaping the way that we work and deliver our mission in the future. And we are already starting to apply some of that insight into the current world and the rapidly changing environment that we're working in. So the Class of 2035 report launched in September this academic year, and is titled How Sport Can Inspire a Generation. And this is the second edition, and it was built on the first edition, which was released in 2015. And it looks into what the world could look like for young people in 2035 and how engagement in PE and school sport could evolve. It's built using insights from young people, expert interviews across education, health and sport, and really importantly takes on those trends analysis and really looks at those barriers to participation. So it looks at that engagement in PE and school sport, and then it highlights opportunities but also obstacles that may get in the way of our success. So I'm just going to highlight a few of those areas, but please do take the time to read the report, and it gives some great scenarios in there. So firstly, teachers being role models to those young people in D&E socioeconomic class groups. We know that inequality remains a fundamental issue, and it's important that we can use all of our teachers, not just our PE teachers, to promote physical activity in schools, and the important role model that our form tutors or our class-based teachers may play in promoting physical activity. Children and young people at the moment are not making the link between PE and the life skills, the skills that they will need to have to prepare them for their next school engagement or perhaps employment. And over a third of the young people would prefer to be taught by someone their own age. So this is really important around the peer and the leadership delivery. Young people playing a key role in the design, development and delivery of physical activity to drive broader and deeper engagement with sport. Nick, if you just click onto the next page, just going to highlight this area here. So I briefly mentioned it. And it's around young people's awareness of the benefits that they should be getting through PE and physical activity. And it shows that they're in decline. Young people aren't making the link between their PE lessons and the life skills that they would gain to prepare them for employment or further education. They're not recognizing the transferable skills that they can gain through the curriculum. They understand that good health and well-being has an important place to play, but they're not connecting that to future opportunities and career. They understand the importance of being fit and healthy, but they aren't recognizing that they can gain skills such as leadership and team building through their PE experience. So now's really the time to focus on the wider educational outcomes or sport for development that comes through the PE curriculum and the wider offer that supports the social, emotional, cognitive development, as well as delivering PE through the physical. If you just click onto the next slide, there we are. Thanks. Okay, so then the report brings us to a summary point where 4 scenarios are presented based on 2 drivers. So the first, from left to right on the screen, is the extent to which sport, play and physical activity are harnessed as a powerful vehicle for social change. And then the other one from bottom to top is the extent to which the voice and opinions of young people are represented in the design, development and delivery of sport and physical activity. And these scenarios, the 4 scenarios that we present, are extremes, and the report gives full details around the examples of what this would look like in schools. But I'm just going to highlight some of those areas. So the top scenario, misdirected efforts, represents a future where young people's voice is fully taken on board in the design and delivery. However, the holistic value of sport isn't recognised. Personal development isn't recognised and therefore isn't embedded into the wider experiences. The school then becomes focused on the narrow benefits of PE sport and falls back in terms of supporting those marginalised and vulnerable groups. The bottom scenario on the right-hand side, empowering some, in this scenario, sport is a tool for social change and is widely understood, but these improvements are offset by the lack of representation of young people in the design and development of their experiences. So children are empowered, but this isn't equal because we're not taking on the voice of all young people. Those within the lower engagement groups become further disconnected. And in this scenario, access to sport provides an additional driver of inequality. And then the worst case of all is long COVID, not actually linked to COVID, but in the scenario, there's a lack of recognition of the role that sport can play in driving social change. And the views and opinions of young people aren't represented or considered at all. And the future generation is characterised by a growing physical and mental health concern, a lack of confidence and skills to meet employment. And inequality and division grows across all of the different income groups and backgrounds. So we want to get to this place where we are empowering also our best case scenario, and we represent in this scenario a world where the voices of the young people are fully represented in the design and delivery of sport experiences, combined with a clear recognition of the value of sport in driving wider social change. So building a future defined by broad engagement in sport across all parts of society and where all can benefit from sport participation. And as a result, this generation are then empowered with the required skills, values, and attitudes to enable them to thrive in their futures. So in sum, creating the healthier, happier, and able generation across all backgrounds, driving social mobility, reduced inequality, and a greater sense of belonging. So within this report, there are developmental recommendations, so the actions that we can take here and now, and then some policy recommendations to help shape the future. And this is the sort of insight that we're currently sharing at government level. And in fact, we've actually presented an update on this Class of 2035 report to government recently to help shape the policy and hopefully feed into the revised school sport and activity action plan. And if we skip on to the next slide, Nick. So from our research, we know that there's a real importance placed on youth voice and how much involving young people in the design, development and delivery is paramount. But some people might be looking for some top tips on where to start. So I wanted to sort of highlight this toolkit before moving on to the focus around girls. So this toolkit was developed to ensure that children and young people with disabilities are fully represented and the principles are just relevant across the board. And the toolkit includes some top tips on how to ensure that young people are heard. There's effective questioning examples and how to use focus groups and including consent forms. So I think Nick will share some of these toolkits following the session. And I'm sure you've probably got some experience from the work that you've been doing yourself and tried and tested methods locally. And what I would say in the breakout rooms or within colleagues, I'd really encourage you to share where your successes have been and where your areas of development are in terms of engaging youth voice. To help shape others' experience, and it might just be that somebody's starting out on their journey, but you've already gone down the line of really consulting with the young people. So at this point, I was just interested to know, and perhaps people can share in the chat, is whether sort of one, you're aware of any youth forums locally, and who are they? And two, whether you currently engage with these youth forums, and they could be your local youth council, or it might be, if you're within a school setting, your school games crew, or whether you link in with the Young People Foundation. So I just thought if we share some examples of how we're already connecting in with those forums, it might spark some ideas for other colleagues on the call. And I'll just let you populate that, hopefully, as we move on to the next slide. So the real purpose of today's networking is to understand the barriers to participation for girls, understand what motivates them, and then really create a buzz around networking together and sharing practice. So what we'll do is we'll start with the why, and as I share the next few slides, I'd really like you to think about why you personally are engaging with this forum, and perhaps engage with the previous network sessions, and then what I can hopefully do is back up your why with some insight and data across the next few slides. So if we move on to the next slide. So we're all aware of the data that's out there to support the importance of targeted interventions for girls, including a focus on long-term investment. And there's obviously the national data from Sport England around the active lives for children and young people. And this data is taken from 2019-20. And we'll focus on why we are focusing on girls. And new data will be released on the 9th of December, so updated data, which you can reference from the 9th of December. And these, the highlights on the screen now are based on the recommended levels of physical activity. The CMO guidelines are the weekly average of 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise a day. And what you can see is, and Nick alluded to this earlier, is that girls are less active than boys. And it is at every stage. And as we go up in age, the gap increases as well. And young people from less affluent backgrounds are less active than those from wealthier backgrounds. And then Black young people are the least active in terms of ethnicity, with Asian young people in the middle between the two there. And then if we combine any of these three factors further, the likelihood of young people being physically active reduces significantly as well. So as we move on to the next slide, this is the Youth Sports Trust's why. Why are we wanting to engage with girls? So girls have lower levels of enjoyment, confidence and competence in physical activity compared with boys. And in all areas of engagement with physical activity, boys' attitudes are more positive. And we've got insight around activity levels and attitudes, which have been shared over the last couple of slides. And in order to influence the activity level, we need to create the opportunities for girls that focus on enjoyment, that boost confidence and develop self-belief. And if we move on to the next slide, I'm going to highlight an important programme that we're involved in to bring to life some of our focused investment in terms of our work with girls. So through our work with the Women's FA, we're working to support equal access for our national games. So through Girls Football School partnerships locally, we're helping to support the Women's FA strategy, which aims for equal access on the curriculum and equal access to extracurricular. And the FA position the important place of the game and the important place that the game can play in terms of raising the profile of equal opportunities across the board. So I'm going to ask Nick to play the video in a second, and this is from the Let Girls Play campaign. And the video really challenges the perceptions of girls playing football. However, it can be applied to all other sports and all other experiences inside and outside of sport. And the campaign really is a vehicle for social change. So I'll let Nick play the video now.
Aren't you tired of the cliches, the typical stereotypes? Having to prove that we are right when having the ability, the skills, the agility. Why are we still the afterthought? We are hungry, with an overwhelming appetite. We're an unstoppable force once given a chance to take flight. Let the girls play. Standing on the lines, cheering the boys on. Resilient schoolgirls, young women, the future, the game changers. Given a ball to kick amongst ourselves, but we want to play. In school playgrounds, Saturday clubs, breakfast clubs, lunch, break, PE, as part of the curriculum. Give us a coach. We don't want much. Let us play. We are the indefinite number, without limits, without boundaries, nimble on our feet, tactical and skillful. The future champions from a myriad of abilities, cultural, social and religious backgrounds too. The unstoppable force, if you'll only give us freedom to play. Let the girls play.
So I hope you'll agree it's a really, really powerful video and something that through our girls football partnerships locally, we're really hoping to drive change. And there are a few focus areas that we have through our work with the Women's FA, and I'm going to highlight a couple of those to you now through the lens of football, and then we'll move on to our Girls Active programme. So part of the work supporting the Barclays Girls Football Partnerships are some research projects, and one of them is the Asian Girls pilot aligned to the FA's Asians in Football project. So only 36% of Asian girls meet the CMO guidelines of participating in 60 active minutes a day. So remembering back to that active lives data, with the average for girls being 43%, obviously this is significantly lower. And then 95% of our PE staff are white, and potentially meaning that there's a lack of Asian female role models, a lack of diverse role models from different ethnic backgrounds. We know that there's an underrepresentation of British Asians within the media. And it goes without saying that we need to better understand Asian girls' lives if we're going to successfully address their sporting needs, and then in turn, if they want to then engage in football. So through consultation with select members of the FA National Asian Women's Football Advisory Group and co-creation sessions with the members of our Youth Sport Trust Youth Board, so we really want to include youth voice in this this co-creation element, we explored and developed best approach to engaging with Asian girls, and 11 focus groups with 8 different schools were set up and held, and each group was made up of at least 3 girls from the same friendship group. So importance placed on putting them in a comfortable environment to share their experiences. So we held group discussions around influences on the girls' lives and what factors influenced them to engage or sway them not to engage in football. And 3 main areas then came up. And again, these probably can be related to other sports as well. So family, societal and school. So 3 main influences. And we need to understand and address the barriers that come with some of these common themes that then emerge from that research. And I'm just going to highlight a few of them. So safety and access came up as an area. So there are simply not enough opportunities, but also acknowledging that there needs to be a safe environment within the sessions. And we also need to consider that traveling to and traveling from those sessions. So creating the right environment as well, and where does co-design, the co-design element come in? Understanding where to suitably place competition and creating enjoyable and engaging environments to develop confidence and competence as well. And we need to place the importance on enjoyment and fun, putting fun at the heart of every session. And then periods, so recognizing that girls' menstrual cycles play a barrier both physically and emotionally. And then clothing also came up as well. And we know that girls feel more confident when they're wearing something that they feel comfortable in, and therefore be able to engage and enjoy that session even more. And then the advice that sort of came off the back of this and recommendations from the pilot were in 5 areas. So we need to raise the importance of physical activity in terms of the health and well-being to Asian girls and their parents. And then this links in with opportunities to raise Asian girls and families' awareness of the leadership and the career opportunities that exist in football, both on the pitch and also off the pitch. Create some great case studies of Asian women who are current sports and football industry role models to raise Asian girls and their families' awareness of successful sporting role models. And then deliver some teacher-led education sessions to boys who play football to address the negative attitudes towards girls who play football. And I'll touch on this again in a little bit. And then the last one was ensure that teachers create a safe space to build confidence levels in both curriculum and extracurricular football by engaging all girls in conversation about what actually matters to them. So that was the Asian Girls pilot and the findings there. I'm going to move on to the next slide. And to set this into context, this next bit of research, I'm going to play the Always Like a Girl campaign. And I imagine that probably lots of you have seen this before, but again, it's a really powerful tool, especially when engaging with boys or trying to get across that understanding of how boys' attitudes can really influence girls and the way they feel. So if we can play the video, Nick.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you some actions to do. I just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aw. My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What what does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time, they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swing like a girl?
Keep doing it because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. It doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that's not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm going to do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
Yeah, I agree with you there, Carrie. I get emotional every time I watch that video, but it's a really, really great video for trying to really put across how it might make girls feel, especially with boys' attitudes, but not just boys, everyone's attitudes towards girls' engagement. And yeah, that's a really powerful video to be able to show. But we know how boys, male attitudes can inhibit girls from engaging positively in sport and staying in the game. So we held some similar focus groups to the Asian Girls pilot. So on the left-hand side of the screen is what the boys said in the focus groups, and representing their attitudes towards girls football in particular. So highlighting some positive but also some negative views and opinions. And then on the right-hand side of the screen is as a consequence of what boys say and do, how it then makes the girls feel. And I'll let you read some of these on the screen. But we've got the stereotypes and, you know, football, it's a boys' sport, and the female game is boring. And if we think about how much this statement can affect the self-confidence, and of course, if there's a decision around whether I want to engage or not, then somebody's making that comment, I'm not going to feel confident enough to engage. And then that is funny, you know. Girls don't want to hear that it's funny. Somebody's laughing at me for engaging in sport and doing something I really enjoy doing. And those are the sorts of things that we really need to flip around those boys' attitudes and other attitudes to then not have such a negative impact on the engagement of girls. So the research then led into some considerations for building a positive environment. And again, this is through a football lens, but we can apply some of these learning across the board. So create more opportunities for boys to officiate, to lead and coach school-based football opportunities for girls. So involve the boys. Develop a narrative in answer to the attitudes to girls football. So aimed at the boys, but also parents as well, and ethnically diverse communities. Provide more opportunities for girls to play at school, led by non-PE and non-sporting staff, to establish more role models within the school. really identifying those other members of staff within school that can then act as those role models within our schools. Do we know from our wider faculty and and staff, are there any women that are engaged in community clubs locally, and do we champion this? Consider a mixed gender format for older young people to maintain more opportunities to play them recreationally together and beyond school. And then lastly, again, that importance of that co-creation element, but involving boys and girls together, shaping their school football offer, so that they have an equal weighting and importance placed on their view being considered. And these are just some insights that we've drawn upon from our girls football programmes in partnership with the FA. But we do hope that this work will become a game changer for many other sports and activities for girls as well, and have an impact on wider school and community life, not just within sport, but in other areas as well. So we'll move on to our Girls Active programme. So you may or may not be aware of Girls Active, but it was a programme developed through a 2-year research and innovation pilot in 2011 to 2013. And in 2015, the programme was then funded by Sport England, and over the last 6 years has supported over 1,000 primary and secondary schools nationally, 9,000 girls and 9,000 girls as leaders and playing that leadership role, and 85,000 girls as participants. And the programme helps schools understand what motivates girls to take part from their unique school perspective, enabling teachers to work with the girls through consultation and leadership to make the necessary changes within their PE, sport and physical activity provision. So really trying to engage girls in a way that appeals to their students within their school. So again, I've got another video that will bring Girls Active to life, and this is my last video. I know I'm going hard on the videos today.
Girls Active is about taking part and boosting people's confidence.
It's about getting involved and getting other people involved, just being a leader.
Senior leaders have to think very clearly about having a compelling vision that includes well-being, fitness and health. Girls Active plays such a fantastic part in making it happen.
So important that girls are in roles of leadership and responsibility. It develops a huge range of skills that are so important to them in later life. Just gives them so much confidence and allows them to be themselves and grow and develop into the young women and adults that they absolutely should be.
If we don't push ourselves to do things, we're never going to get there.
If we get them motivated during their time at school, then they'll want to carry it on after they've left school.
As a parent, you just want to see that your child's being given the best opportunities and best access to different experiences, and Girls Active appears to be a good programme for just developing a range of skills around physical activities.
Girls Active empowers them to make their decisions. It enables them to grow. And that is what I've seen in my school. They have grown, they have flourished, and they've become excited about being physically active. Channeling that energy in a positive way in leadership and sport will have a massive impact across the curriculum.
The Youth Sport Trust were fantastic in the training they give you, the ideas, the support to help you set it up, how maybe you could approach your senior leadership team, how you could approach a group of girls to market something in a way that is desirable to girls and teenage girls.
It's an absolute winner. There's absolutely no reason why all schools shouldn't be doing it, because it just can make such a difference.
Hopefully that just then gives you a bit of a flavour about Girls Active and from a school's point of view. So from the research and experience, we know that how we work with girls is far more important than what we do. So the style of provision rather than the specific activity, and our training and our work and research with schools looks at challenges and principles of engaging girls in physical activity. It looks at effective consultation with the girls to then build relationships. It's around empowering girls to motivate their peers through leadership. And these leadership roles can be in advocacy roles, marketing, or it could be in direct delivery of sporting opportunities. And we help schools to advocate why and how to engage girls in physical activity, and support them to plan how to improve their school's provision by taking on the vision, the feedback from the girls themselves. And the programme is underpinned by 6 principles of effective engagement with girls. So the first one is around a long-term approach, and it's making sure that girls' engagement is an explicit objective within PE plans, involving all PE staff, and importantly the wider staff within the school in terms of addressing the issues. So then it's around putting self-confidence at the heart, support girls to identify and set their own personal goals within PE, focus on mastery and personal improvement, personal development. We need to make it relevant to the girls' lives, focus on the girls being active for life and not just for sport. So really focus on that physical literacy journey, making the explicit links to development of wider life skills. And then we can't underestimate the power of friends, and provide and promote the social aspects of PE and sport, and enable girls to then motivate their peers, their friends, and this is where the peer leadership comes in. And role models, and this is around deploying girls as part of a positive role models for other girls, and it's not necessarily just your elite sportswomen. Perhaps it's staff within the school or within your club setting, and really looking at that people like me approach. And then lastly, it's around empowering the girls, so allowing the girls some creativity and learning through discovery, and developing and deploying the girls in a way that they can contribute through a variety of leadership roles. And as we go through the rest of the networking sessions, we're going to hear some good practice examples from schools and other organisations, and bring some of these principles to life, and hopefully provide you with some key takeaways of something that's worked well for them. But over the next few slides, if I can ask you to note one example of something that's worked well for you in terms of engaging girls in physical activity or PE, and have a think about this, and which of the 6 principles it might then align to, that you can then maybe take that into some of the discussions that you have later, and hopefully you'll be inspired by those who are sharing and speaking later on, that you'll then feel like you can share some of your successes, or even just ask some of your colleagues around some of the barriers you're facing, because it's likely that they probably face those barriers at some point as well. So I'm just going to use these final few slides to do some signposting to some helpful documents. So we've made a section on our website to share key principles and good practice around Girls Active. There's a really helpful self-review tool that helps benchmark where you're at in terms of your girls' PE, school sport and physical activity practice. What I would say is you may be able to relate some of those areas into community settings as well, or club settings. Although the tool is designed for schools, there are whole school elements covered in there. there's engaging with parents, transition, and also community, as well as having a look at the PE curriculum and wider physical activity offer. And there are documents around helping you with advocacy roles, principles, and then processes, as well as leadership guidance for those girls that you'd be encouraging to be your leaders or your role models locally. And then if you want to then develop it even further, then there's a next steps of where you can go for further guidance and signposting. So I'll just leave you with this final quote from a teacher who's engaged with us on a programme, and what we do is we try to take the girls and the school on a journey, a personal journey with a long-term approach. So placing the girls and the school needs at the heart of the work that we do with them. And we're really happy to have follow-up conversations with people outside of this event, and I'll leave my details on the next slide. But what we want to do is share success or any collaboration that is like a result of maybe some of these networking sessions, and we're always looking for great examples to bring to life and share nationally. So if you do have anything, any case study sharing good practice, please do let me know, and it'd be brilliant to then take that nationally to help shape some of the support that we might be able to put in place for girls and schools. So yeah, just a big thank you from me for your time, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of the updates from the schools and organisations this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Naomi. That was a really inspiring and motivating presentation, and please do follow up with Naomi if you want to have a further conversation around this. We're not going to have time to do any questions because we just want to get straight onto these presentations, but I'm sure Naomi will have a look at the chat, and if there are any questions that you've asked, she'll be able to answer them through that. And of course, you'll have the opportunity in the breakout rooms if you're in one with her. So without further ado, we're going to go into our good practice presentations now, and we've got three amazing ladies to come and talk to you about what they've done to successfully engage girls in positive sport and physical activity experiences. Now, we know there's some amazing practice going on across Sussex, and it may be that you're doing a lot of this stuff and that those principles that Naomi's already shared really resonated and you're actually already doing a lot of it. But hopefully this will either reaffirm what you're doing, but hopefully you'll take away a few ideas or a few little nuggets that you can go away and implement. So each presenter is going to have approximately 15 minutes and then a few minutes for questions at the end. Unfortunately, Sarah Levitt isn't here today, and she sent a recording across. She's gutted that she can't make it, but she's happy for you to follow up with her directly after this. So the first of our good practice presentations, I'm really pleased to introduce Katie Chapman, who is the PE coordinator at Little Common Primary School and one of our This Girl Can Sussex champions. And I've worked with Katie for a number of years, and she does some absolutely fantastic work for the children and young people at her school. So I will hand over to you, Katie. Are you there?
Thank you. I am here. Thank you.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody. I'm Katie Chapman. I'm PE lead at Little Common School in Bexhill, and I've been PE lead there for about 6 or 7 years now. And it's been really great to be part of the This Girl Can programme, really, in terms of encouraging girls and getting them active. And I'm going to share a little bit about how we do that at Little Common School. Next slide, please. So I thought it'd be really important, first of all, just to share our successes in PE and sport at Little Common. We are a 3-form entry school. We have about 600 pupils, and we work really, really hard to try and engage all of our pupils. We are an outstanding school, and we've had 2 Ofsteds recently where they piloted us as well to look again at what we're doing and to help other schools to be outstanding too. We are Quality Start Active Primary School of the Year. We was that in 2019, and there hasn't been one since then. So we are retaining our title in that, and we're very, very proud of what we've achieved for that award as well. We are an East Sussex Healthy School, and we had the Excellence Awards for that. So we're the only school in the south of England to have received the Excellence Awards, and that was something that was brought down from schools in the north within Leeds and East Sussex took that role on, and we piloted that, and we have the Excellent Awards. And that's not just looking at physical activity, but that's also looking at what we provide in terms of mental health, healthy eating, and all of those sorts of things for our pupils. We are a Quality Start Platinum Plus, and that's really important for us because that's looking at what we do for our younger pupils, our Key Stage 1 pupils, and it's really important for me as a PE lead to ensure that actually we are creating those positive experiences in PE and sport for our young children, and helping them to realise that leading active and healthy lifestyles is really important, and for them to start being leaders in sport as well. So yeah, we're really proud of what we've achieved. Next slide, please. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about how we create healthy and active lifestyle culture for all at Little Common. And for us, it's really important that we sort of embed that healthy and active lifestyle approach for all. So not just our pupils, but the community as well, our school community. And that's for us looking at the PE, the sport and the competition that we provide for all of our pupils. And that's for all, that's including all of our children, whether they travel actively, thinking about their healthy lifestyle. So not just that they do PE, not just that they are active outside of school, but actually we're helping them to understand that leading an active and healthy lifestyle is really important, so they can start to sustain that going forward and for the future as well. And I'm just going to talk to you about some examples of how we do that. Next slide, please. So this is just how we create an active school community. And yes, getting girls active is really important, but we believe that it's a whole community approach. So that's looking at what we provide for our staff. Our staff are our role models. All our staff teach PE at Little Common, and we believe in giving them the skills and the CPD that they need to be able to be confident enough to teach our pupils. We involve them in our challenges, our Get Active challenges that we use with our families at home as well, and we get them to be role models and show the children what they can do as well. And our children actually love that our staff get involved, and they're part of that too. We think about our staff CPD, and we really target what we do for our staff to ensure that that's something different all the time, and so they're able to engage our pupils. And we think about our leaders and our pupils in school, thinking about the challenges we provide for them, how we're getting them active, what they say, what do they want, and pupil voice for us is really key in understanding what our pupils want, what they need, and actually what we can do as a school to ensure that we're addressing that and we're listening to what they need. It's looking at the workshops we provide, so that whole school community approach, that's not just our pupils but all of those other stakeholders too, and that leads to our awards and all of those things, but most importantly getting children and their families active and leading active and healthy lifestyles. Next slide, please. This leads us on to how do we get girls active, and it kind of started really with a few years ago when I started looking at data and thinking, actually, what are the children doing in our school? Now, I track all 615 pupils, and I look at what clubs they do, whether they're active inside school, outside of school, whether they're leaders, and that's really important in that it gives me information in terms of what our pupils do and who we need to target and who we need to support, who we need to encourage. And in 2016 and 17, I looked at the children who were being active, and my aim is always to get 100% of our pupils being active, and active is doing something additional outside of school. That's an after school club, ensuring that they're hitting that active 60 minutes a day, and our data showed that only 56% of our Key Stage 2 girls were active. And so for me, I had to kind of go, well, actually, we need to do something about this. What can I do? Pupil voice was the first thing that we did. We listened to what the girls want. We wanted to know what they liked, what they disliked, and actually what we could do to put in place to get those girls active. And that was really, really key for us. We had workshops where we helped to sort of raise their self-esteem and build their confidence, and we looked at the role models of women in sport and what they did and what other girls did as well. We worked with the boys, changing their perception for the girls as well, in terms of not having those negative attitudes towards girls. We chose the clubs that girls wanted, and I think when at primary school age, it's really important that you can have those discussions with the girls and say, oh, what do you like, or why aren't you doing that club? And it could be something like their friend doesn't go, or they don't have anyone to go with. So for me as a PE lead, it was creating things that they wanted to do with their friends, or getting them to say, would you like to create a club? What club would you like? Oh, you'd like to do some dance. Do you want to be a leader in that club? And then getting all of their friends to come along and join in with that. And that was really successful for us, that actually at the end of the year, 100% of our girls were active. And that's because of the targeting that we did in terms of engaging and ensuring that their needs were fulfilled. Next slide, please. So how do we ensure that we continue to get girls active? And I think we have to be really careful that we can't just look at 1 year. It has to be something that we continue to look, and I think about it as a long-term approach. And a bit like what Naomi was saying, how do we sort of continue that sort of going forward for the girls? And even now we know that the impact of COVID has been really, I think for us as a primary school as well, has been really huge in terms of when it was, when we were in a pandemic, not being able to offer as many clubs. We know that the girls weren't as active as they could be, and it's still continuing to look at what do they need and what do we provide for them. Next slide, please. So pupil voice, again, every year we do a pupil voice. So this is how we think about what we do long term for our pupils. And we know from pupil voice that 100% of our girls enjoy PE, and that's great. We're doing something well within our PE curriculum, but not all of them are active. And I'm talking about current data for us. They're not all active at the moment. So I have to say, why aren't they active? And how do I engage them in getting them active, and what do those girls need? And this, for me, the pupil voice tells me what the barriers are, whether that's something at home, something within school, something where they don't feel confident. And if I know the barriers, then I can start to address those and get the girls active. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things that some of our girls have previously said. I don't feel confident enough to go. I attend clubs outside of school. That's great. So I can say, actually, that child is already active. They're doing 4 different clubs outside of school. I already have that information on my tracking as well. So that's good. Is there anything that they want to do in school? There isn't a club that I like. So that's my job to say, well, what club would you like, or what sport would you like? Do you feel confident enough to try this? Is there something in PE that you've done that you want to do as well? Lots of children say they're too busy, or their family are too busy to attend a club or to do something, and that can be a real barrier in thinking about, actually, what do we provide for the pupils? Do we think about when we put those clubs on for children to attend? Is it something that we can do first thing in the morning? Is it something that we can create at lunchtime for them to attend? Is it a conversation that we can have with parents about supporting them in helping children to be able to sort of attend a club and to be active? Little things like, I don't know how to sign up. That's something that you can easily address. And I don't know someone else that's going. And friendships are really key for us, for our year 5s and 6 children, in that actually they like to go along because their friends going as well, and for them to be confident and say, oh, I'm going to clubs you want to come to. Next slide, please. Oh, I've just gone off. Hold on a second. I think I've just done that. There we go. Sorry about that. I clicked a little button. So how do we ensure that we continue to get girls active? And I think that's a really sort of nice quote there from our girls, that they get to try lots of different sports, and that's really important, that we are providing girls and children as well, all children, with a range of sports. I want them to leave my primary school going, actually, I've tried lots of different things, and they go on to secondary school having tried lots of different sports and maybe have found something that they like, so that an activity that they enjoy doing, and providing a range of different sports and lots of things can help them to be able to do that. Next slide, please. So clubs are really key, because they're our main thing in terms of outside the PE curriculum, in terms of getting girls and our pupils active. The PE curriculum is a key part in that we want them to enjoy their PE, we want them to enjoy their PE lessons, and it's how we value and infuse the girls within that, how we help them to develop their skills and to be able to be confident to be able to use them skills. And we do something called skills builder within our school, where we link our learning to skills that they can use sort of long term in real life, sort of making it relevant for them. So that teamwork, where they're working together as a team, or they're being a leader. Well, actually, how can you use that in real life? What other jobs, what other sports where will you be able to use those skills? And we think that's important for children to be using as they're going forward and heading towards secondary school, and it's making it relevant for them. So again, going back to those extracurricular clubs, what clubs we are providing for those children, but also linking that to signposting children to things that they can do outside of school. So thinking about what providers we have coming in, and we have lots of different sort of club providers that come in, but also to say, well, actually there's also this club that's on in the evening, there's also this club that's on at the weekends, and also making that accessible to parents as well, so that they can see that if they can't do things after school, there are also those other things that they can do as well. Having workshops where people come in and role model the different sports and activities that children can do, and those things sometimes are really key in saying, and when the children go, actually I want to do that too, oh I love that karate looks really interesting, I want to be part of that, oh they're showing lots of different football skills there, I want to be part of the football team, I want to do that too. And for us as well, getting girls active is making sure we have links with our school games cluster. And we do a lot of work with Active Sussex, but also with our school games cluster to take part in those competitions. At our school, it's very much competition for all. Everybody gets a chance to take part in competition. It isn't they're the best, so they get to go. Everybody gets to take part in competitions at our school, and that's important for raising their self-esteem and for telling children that you believe in them, that they can have a go, and you don't have to be the best at something to be able to do it. So it's a very much everybody gets the opportunity to have a go. And again, going back to making it relevant to what they want, what they like, what they need, and making those adaptations, because of course every cohort of children is different each year, and you have to be really, really aware of that. Next slide, please. So community. So we do lots of Get Active at Home challenges, because we believe that, you know, it's great that what we do at school in getting children active, but that also comes from at home as well, about building that healthy and active lifestyle approach, getting the families active as well, and helping them to understand that actually activity makes us feel good. So as a school, we do lots of things in terms of challenges, taking part, rewarding for taking part in different things. You know, we did before COVID, we did a big Sunday stroll where we had loads of families that came along and took part. We do regular challenges that get sent home for children and their families too, and get them to send in video evidence and things like that. And we know that that's important to help inspire and for children to see their family being a role model as well, and that for us is to helping them to be keeping active long term as well. Next slide, please. So yeah, we do Get Active challenges, we send healthy recipes, we do weekend strolls, there's newsletters that we send out every sort of a few weeks that gives them ideas about how they can keep active. We do cooking workshops, fitness classes, we look at links to local providers and those community initiatives as well. And of course, we want to get girls active. It is that whole community approach for us as a school as well. Next slide, please. Leaders in sport. I'm really passionate about all our children leading and learning to lead, and we all do lots of learning to lead skills within our PE session, but we also have over 200 pupils that lead in our school. Bear in mind we're a school of over 600. We have sports leaders, play leaders, a sports crew, a sports committee. 51% of our girls are sports leaders, and they help lead activity within their classes. So they might lead warm-ups, they might think of activities in games, they might set up equipment, they might take charge of a particular group. And this isn't about choosing children that are necessarily the best at everything. We choose from a range of different groups, from our inactive children, for our SEN children, from low ability to high achievers. We like to include from all groups of children, and they get the opportunity to be leaders. We also have play leaders at playtimes who support with challenges and get children active, and they know that being a play leader is a great thing in order to help other children be active too, and just to have those healthy conversations. And for us, getting other children active is really successful because their friends are doing it and they want to do it as well. They want to be active because they have those positive role models of those play leaders as well, out at break and lunch times too. Next slide, please. And that's what it's about sometimes, isn't it? Being in just improving their confidence. And I had I saw a couple of past pupils at a parents' evening. My son's at secondary school, and some of our past pupils go to the same secondary school. And quite a few children came up to me and said, "Oh, I'm a leader. Oh, I'm doing this in PE. I'm doing this now. I've joined this club." And it is about creating, not just for the children that are school in year 5 and 6, that actually we're preparing them and giving them those skills so when they go on to secondary school. And actually that's really valuable for those children, and giving them those skills that they can use, their lifelong skills that they can have. Next slide, please. So what's really important for us at primary as well is that we can evidence the impact of what we're doing. So we want to get girls active, we want to get all of our children active, but we have to think about actually how do we use our sports premium in order to create that active school community and get girls active. We have to think actually what's our intent. We want to have an active school community. How are we going to implement that? So from our pupil voice, from our data, from the things that we're providing from our pupils, and what we do as part of our sports premium report. We also provide an overall sort of an impact report, looking at the impact of what we've done. What have we done with our funding, and what has that achieved? And we look at lots of different areas, and about spending money on equipment, thinking about different playground markings. That's getting children active, that's getting moving. What we're doing within school, actually what we're doing at home with our challenges, what funding or money are we using to promote that, the leaders in school, and also looking at actually how we're doing that in terms of COVID and school closures, and how we are continuing to ensure that we're doing those things too. Next slide, please. So my top tips really, how do we create that active culture for girls and for all? And I've said it lots, it's that PE and sport and competition for us, that we're giving girls opportunities and making it equal, that everybody has that opportunity to be successful, to have a go, to try, to find something that they like, to provide a range of sports, to provide a range of competitions, and give everybody the chance to have a go. And I think you can think with a larger school that can be quite limiting too for pupils, but my challenge is to go, actually everybody gets a chance. So I have to look at what competitions there are, what I can provide in school, and how I make that successful. Again, pupil voice for all is really important. I can't that's a key thing for us, listening to what our pupils need. Empowering girls to be leaders, empowering children to be leaders, to lead in sport, to take control and to just say what they want and what they would like. That's really successful for us, and that's definitely something. And also thinking about how we're involving that school community, because sometimes if we can't always try to get girls active if they don't also have the support at home, and that's been really key for us at Little Common. Next slide, please. I think this one here is really, really lovely, isn't it? Because sometimes it's looking at what they've said previously and how they feel now. And we also do pupil voice sort of towards the end of the year to see how things have improved and how things have changed, and how we can continue to build upon that for our pupils. And I never want any of our pupils to feel that they're never good enough. And so my job, our job as staff is to build children's confidence and make them feel like they are, and also it's that it's other people's viewpoints as well, and getting them to empower and to build, whether they're a boy or a girl, to say you are good enough, that's great, you're trying, you're working really, really hard. And so to have children say that they didn't have the confidence but now they do, that's something that I think is really lovely. Next slide, please. And that's me done for today. I hope that's been useful for people. That's what we do at Little Common, and we're really proud of what we're doing, and we're continuing to grow, and there's always things that we can learn and build upon from that. But thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you, Katie. And I, just like to say, I think you're a credit to your school and the local community. The work you've done just shows what can be done, and the critical role that schools can play in providing those experiences and connecting in with the community. Gemma, is there any questions in the chat box, or would anyone like to unmute and ask Katie any questions about her presentation and what she does at Little Common?
Nothing specific in the chat box for Katie, Nick, but if anyone wants to, if they just use the raise the hand button.
Well, what we'll do, guys, we'll move on, but if you do have any questions, either whack them in the chat box and Katie can answer them as we progress, or feel free to follow up with her afterwards. I'm sure she'd be happy to help. So thanks again, Katie. So we're going to move on to the next one now. Now, what we are going to do, we're a little bit pressed for time, actually. So Sarah's recording, we're going to send out as part of the follow-up. I would really, really strongly recommend that you do take the time to listen to that. She's carried out a really interesting piece of research with the girls at her school and got some really interesting insights and the approach and how she's tried to amplify that This Girl Can message within school and the local community. So what we will do is we will go on to our next presentation, which is with Natalie Greenall from Believe in You. Natalie, are you there?
Hi, yeah, just about there.
Brilliant. Okay, without further ado, I'll hand over to you.
Amazing. Hi, I'm Natalie, and this is my colleague Vanessa.
Hello.
I'm actually about to go on maternity leave very shortly, so Vanessa's taking over, so she's going to come and join today to kind of see what we're doing. But yeah, if you can go on to the first slide, that'd be amazing. But we've run several projects through Active Sussex in a collaboration to improve mental health, particularly amongst teenage girls. Our target audience is sort of 11 to, I'd say, about 18 we go up to, so we've tried to sort of like implement lots and lots of really positive ways to engage girls in lots of different projects that we'll go through in a minute. So if you can go to the first slide, please. So Believe in You is an early intervention mental health service. So essentially, as a team, we go into schools across Kent and Sussex and just try and improve mental health across the board. We do lots and lots of stuff like that isn't relevant, but sport has definitely become part of that because, well, as it's, it's so well known that we can really improve mental health through sport and fitness. So if we can implement that into daily life, it's going to have a massive positive impact across the board, particularly with everything we've been through in lockdown. We all became so inactive. With the work that we do in schools, even on like a one-to-one basis, it was massively, our caseload is just through the roof at the moment because mental health is just so poor. So if there's things we can do that sport can help with, it's a really good thing. So on the whole, our aim is to empower and equip young people with the tools to manage their emotional well-being and again improve their self-esteem and confidence, which hopefully then protects against the onset of later mental health issues on the whole. Next slide. So there's a bit of data, and you might all be aware of this, you might not, but again, I don't know how relevant these stats are. I don't think they know the true extent of what's happened since COVID has kind of kicked in. But what they do know is that 20% of all adolescents will experience a mental health issue in any given year. That's what they know about. I think from working on the ground and working in schools, it's far, far higher. And I think it's massively underreported. We'll see. I think the stats will change as it goes on. 50% of mental health issues are established before the age of 14 and 75% before the age of 24. So actually those key ages that we're all working with, are so crucial to get right. Yeah, it's a really scary thing, actually. And again, I think it probably starts way earlier. I think in primary schools we probably need to get the early interventions in more so than secondary. Sometimes for us it's even, you know, they're so established by the time they come to us in secondary schools, it needed to be in place way before. So CAMS, the NHS Mental Health Service, they're currently receiving 2,000 referrals per day, and I've seen a 50% rise in demand on services since COVID, and they just can't keep up. So at the moment, if you have a child that needs to go to CAMS to have some sort of mental health input, it's a minimum of a 6-month wait, which is really, really sad. So again, massively highlights everything that we can do on the ground, early intervention work to try and improve the lives of kids and teens, and particularly girls, at an early intervention stage, so that it doesn't escalate to an even, you know, more serious state, really. Next slide. So these are some of the projects that we've run since 2018. So we've done body positivity for girls, and that was really focused on decreasing the likelihood of disordered eating, and that was at Robertsbridge Community College. Body positivity for girls at St Leonard's Academy. We had a group targeting risky behaviour, like minimising risky behaviour for boys at the Hastings Academy. We had a lovely group, which is the picture underneath, which Vanessa actually helped run, which was to improve the confidence and self-esteem for vulnerable students who just wouldn't engage in any kind of sport or fitness. And that was at the Hastings Academy. And then most recently, through COVID, we did an improving self-esteem and anxiety focus group through boxing, with Box Hit in Bexhill, which ran pretty much online for the most of it. But again, they were all really different projects, but I think for us, the girls ones that were, you know, really focused on getting girls active have been really, really positive. Next slide. And as we know, so teenage girls can be a bit of a tricky audience generally, and particularly when you're then trying to get them engaged in sport. They are the first ones to, you know, forgotten PE kits or find a reason why they can't do it and things like that. But actually, we found that if you kind of get the sort of balance right of working with them, it can be really, really good for them. And once they then have the confidence to engage in a sport that maybe they've never tried before, it's so powerful for them, and it's so good for their confidence and self-esteem and how they view themselves. And that is so important at those really key ages. Next slide. Oh, I look so skinny there. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, who is that woman? So one of the biggest things that we found that teenage girls are just not prepared to engage in any situation where they feel vulnerable. So that is our main sort of, I guess, target, is that we want them from that first session where they come in to just feel really, really safe and really feel like actually nobody's going to laugh at them. If they can't do it, it's absolutely fine. We don't want anyone to come and think, oh, I'm rubbish at boxing, so I'm not going to come back. We really use that key first session to sort of like lure them in. Yeah, just really make them feel like they're part of something really, really positive. Because most of the girls, they get referred in by the schools to the projects that we run. So we haven't always met them. So the remits are often then obviously targeted towards the mental health side of things, but they often come in with poor confidence or self-esteem. So you're almost starting on the back foot to try and engage girls that just wouldn't engage in sport at all. So yeah, we need to make sure that starting with the right mix of engaging activity, something they'd be interested in, and getting the delivery right is really, really important from the outset. Next slide. So one of the things I think I'm really passionate about is just making sure that the team that we have that go into the schools to deliver the programmes are the right people. Girls are going to make their minds up really quickly about whether they're going to like you or not, or whether they're going to engage. So we've sort of selected local mostly female fitness trainers, all who've just got a really, really brilliant, fun approach to sport. We've got Daisy at the bottom there who runs lots and lots of Zumba and boot camp sessions across Hastings. And then we often use, she's called Jazz, she's really cool, Jazz Fit. And again, just they have those really good personalities and really good approaches that you need to work in with teenagers, where we don't go in as teachers, we don't go in with that sort of, you know, almost that educational, you know, the sort of rule-based things you might have in PE. It's something a bit more relaxed, it's a bit more fun. So yeah, I think creating a dream team and whatever you're going to deliver is really, really important. And we often use the trainers that then have existing sessions. So again, the long-term approach is so important. So we only go in sort of short term. I think a lot of the projects have been sort of like 22 weeks. But we then really promote those classes that the trainers are running already in the area, so they can kind of feed into them. And that barrier to access sessions beyond that is kind of reduced. Next slide. So in terms of activities and things like that, we try and again sort of like step out of the box, and we go in with a loose plan. But I think, as like the previous speakers have said, giving the girls the autonomy to decide what they want to do often makes them engage a lot better. So that's one of the pictures at the top. We had, I think like 25 girls in yoga out of Robertsbridge. That was really good fun. Zumba. Again, Zumba teacher came in and did things at Robertsbridge. And then Jazz was doing like an all over body conditioning class with the girls in the sports hall at the bottom. But again, we kind of like give them the option. So we go in loosely with the plan. But if there's an activity that actually collectively they really are not interested in, for us, it's far more beneficial to say, okay, what would you like to do? Where are your interests? What are the things you've never tried before? And again, it's often outside of the activities that are offered on the curriculum. It's often the ones that maybe they wouldn't have the confidence to go to a boxing club, or they wouldn't have the confidence to access a yoga class. We try and take it to them so then they can try it and again engage in a really positive, fun way. Next slide. So for us, again, with the mental health thing, our main goal is that every session makes them feel really, really good. We try and have a lot of fun with them. Again, the focus is getting them active, but they're much more likely to come back every week and want to take part if they're then feeling really, really good about themselves. So we're not sort of like super hot on their skill or their ability or anything like that. That's quite secondary to anything we do. And again, when they come in with quite poor self-esteem, their ability is going to be very, very low. And that isn't our focus. We always try and get involved. And I almost take on that role of, I'm the one, I try and sort of be quite rubbish at everything, if that makes sense. I almost feel like if I'm the one that openly like struggles, or I am actually terrible at Zumba, to be fair, like I'll be going the other way to everybody else. But again, it removes that barrier of that vulnerability of the girls thinking, oh, it doesn't matter if you get it wrong, or it doesn't matter if you're rubbish at this. It's all about trying. So yeah, we combine a lot of fun in the sessions, and that seems to be something that they want to come back and really, really engage with. Next slide. And again, you're increasing the chances of them coming back if they associate it with feeling really, really good. And it's that empowerment we want to really, really instill with them through sport and fitness, and improving not only how they, like I say, view themselves, but longer term in terms of mental health. These are skills that they can take beyond these sessions at school and beyond adolescence. So, if you're later on in life and you're feeling really stressed, for them, I want them to have those connections to think, I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go and do this, or I'm going to do that. So again, really, look after themselves and practice that self-care in terms of sport and fitness and your mental health. So yeah, again, our primary goal is to make it fun. If it's not fun, they're not going to come back, especially, teenagers vote with their feet, and you've got to make sure they're going to come back each week. Next slide. So as part of the projects that we run, we also integrate then like teen-friendly mental health. And again, that for us is such an important element of it, particularly because, especially with teenage girls, you're up against so many different elements, especially with the rise of things like social media and comparing their body images and just being exposed to unrealistic body ideals and body shapes. So we want to keep it real and really educate them well in terms of looking after your bodies and being healthy, not only now but in the future, but doing it in a really, really safe way. It's really sad, but I hear lots and lots of girls who just, they go on TikTok and, see all these unrealistic body shapes, and then for them, their approach is, well, I just won't eat. If I don't eat, then I'll be skinny. And that is trying to break those cycles of like negative patterns of behaviour. So we really try and empower them in terms of using fitness as a way to feel really proud of your bodies, but to look after them in a really healthy way and break those other approaches they might come with. So this is an activity we did where we just asked them, they're all like hashtags, and they just had to write at the beginning of the 22 weeks of where they're at with how they viewed their bodies. And it was really sad because so many just wrote fat and just, or chubby, or they just had such poor self-esteem. I don't think anybody put anything nice, or if it was positive, it went as far as okay. So again, it's part of our jobs, I feel, to try and make them leave those sessions changing those body ideals and changing the ways they view themselves. Next slide. And again, as part of that, we've had some like inspirational guest speakers come in. Just trying to keep it real, just trying to get them to sort of appreciate and really understand the real life context of what we're trying to do through the projects. So this was she's a lovely girl. She's a model, and she's had this huge campaign out in Australia recently. But she is a disabled model. So I think she had, from what I can remember, I think she had bone cancer when she was like 10. And it's got a huge scar down her leg, and walks with a crutch and things. But actually she then has projected an amazingly positive body ideal, and modelled and quite openly with her scars and things in Australia. And so she came in to the girls' body esteem projects in Robertsbridge and talked to the girls about having a really positive relationship with their bodies and things like that. So yeah, we try and find quite niche ways to sort of keep it really relevant to how the kids, and particularly teenage girls, relate to in the worlds that they live in currently. Next slide. So as part of the project, and again, we kind of outlined this from the beginning, we try and keep it quite reward focused. So if they attend regularly and come to a certain percentage of sessions and things like that, they can then choose like an activity at the end. They also get things like t-shirts. So we wanted to remove the barrier of sort of, low income families who didn't have any sportswear or anything like that. We had quite a lot of input about what the girls would like to wear, to make them feel comfortable when they were coming along. And at the end, they get to choose like an outing or like an activity, which mostly consisted of pizza, which was really nice. But again, for us, they've done 22 weeks worth of exercise. Again, we're really promoting that positivity around having a healthy relationship with food. So they ate all the pizza at the end, and it was really good fun. But for them, again, those friendships had sort of formed. And again, it's just about creating those positive associations with health and fitness and lifestyle, that they'll not only use now, but then take beyond into sort of like future life beyond adolescence. Next slide. So this is a case study of one of the things that actually worked really well for us. So this was in lockdown. So we originally started this group that was particularly targeted at boys and girls who were suffering from anxiety. It was almost like an early intervention boxing program essentially, for those kids that wouldn't have the sort of confidence to do it. So it was quite a small group. And we started just before Christmas, and I think we probably got about 3 sessions in before Boris put us in lockdown. And we weren't, it was on like unknown territory at this point, and we weren't quite sure if it was going to work. So that was myself and Bobby, who worked for Box Gym. And it was the most freezing cold warehouse I've ever been in my life. So every week I thought, oh God, I really hope these, they don't rock up. But every week, actually, it was the girls that chose to engage. So I think we probably had about 5 girls that zoomed in and sort of joined us from their bedrooms or their living rooms every week. And it was so nice to see, because, like I say, it was a really rubbish time. But the boys kind of like dropped off, and it was quite interesting. And the only thing I can put it down to is that we really created that sense of fun in a really limited environment, if that makes sense. But yeah, boxing on Zoom is a little bit of an interesting concept. So a lot of it was like conditioning and, getting them to just improve their overall fitness. But yeah, it was good fun, but the girls were the ones that engaged, which was really interesting. Next slide. So with the engagement, the boxing, we could teach them certain techniques, but over a sort of a long period of time, like I say, we had to be quite creative and just create fun workouts, really. But then we kind of like integrated other activities like highlight of the week, snippets of mental health education, and really promoting like self-care as well during lockdown. But one of the biggest things was, so the youngest girl we had that took part in this was only 11, and she was so anxious. I don't think she said anything for the first few weeks. But you know what? Every single week she rocked up, and her ability was really, really low. She'd never done boxing before, anything like that. But she was then awarded Star Boxer at the end of the project, just simply for having that attitude and that approach, and the fact that she tried so hard every week from her bedroom. It was just so lovely to see. Yeah, and she obviously found something within that made her feel really empowered and strong as a, you know, as a young person. And that was something that hopefully will, again, she'll take beyond those sessions and have the confidence to then engage in stuff in the future. And then again, just practically, we tried to ensure there was a way to continue, so the kids could access, you know, further sessions when we weren't in lockdown, at like a reduced rate and stuff, so that again, it was more accessible in the future. So yeah, but no, it's been really, really good fun. We've had some really good engagements with kids, and particularly girls. And I think it's just for anyone that's working out there, the more that you can do just to really, really help promote how they view themselves and feel through sport and education and things like that, they'll, yeah, like I say, take on these lifelong skills that will make a difference now and in the future. So it's so important that we all do it. I think that's the end, hopefully.
It is. Thank you, Natalie. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing what you've been doing and the great work you've been doing in your area. We've got time for a few questions. Jem, is there anything coming in the chat box, or would anyone like to raise their hand and ask Natalie a question directly?
There's a question from Naomi. I don't know whether, Naomi, you want to ask it directly.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Natalie, with your boxing virtual sessions, did you find that that you were more successful in the virtual sort of world than perhaps some of the face-to-face sessions, and have you kind of explored why this might be?
You know what, I think face-to-face is always going to be better. I think, again, you can really have a much nicer, you know, approach with the kids, and you can have a really nice relationship with them. Do you know what, I think they just found us quite entertaining. Again, we took on that approach. We were just like children's TV presenters, I think, and just jumped around and just tried to keep the sessions really fun and positive. And I think maybe they just tuned in every week and just thought, it's those two idiots again on a Saturday morning. Brilliant, let's come along and see what they're doing this week. So I don't know, there was something that kept them coming back, the girls. I don't know, maybe again, it's just trying to be that really sort of like positive role model that no matter what's going on, you can get fitness in somehow, or you can, you know, I don't know how we did it, but I can't say I'd rush back to do the online stuff, because it was quite hard work. It's much easier in real life.
Oh, thanks, Natalie.
Great stuff. Any other questions in the chat box, Jem?
Katie has asked a question. Do you come into primary schools?
No, do you know, at the moment we just go into secondaries. So yeah, I'd love to, because I really believe, like I say, by the time that we see lots of kids, like actually it needs to go in like earlier. We need to be making mental health far more normalised at a much younger age, and get those strategies and toolkits in place. Because sometimes it's, you know, they're so far down the line, and it's the negative behaviours are so ingrained by the time they come to us at secondaries. Yeah, so maybe in the future, maybe.
Brilliant. That sounds like something that you could potentially apply to the Children and Young People Investment Fund for.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll follow that up. Well, thank you, Natalie, and thank you for all the brilliant work that you've done. Raised this, I think, you know, really important issue around mental health, particularly for teenage girls. So what we're going to do now, everyone, is we're going to have an opportunity. There's been obviously a lot of talking today, so this is an opportunity for us to get together, have some small group discussions. Each group is going to have a facilitator just to help things along. This is an opportunity for you to reflect on the presentations. You know, was there anything that really resonated with you? Is there anything that you might start or stop doing as a result of today? And of course, you know, you may want to talk about what you've been doing to engage girls in positive sport and physical activity experience. So we should have around 15 minutes in total, maybe just under, for these discussions, and you will get a message on the screen in a minute asking you to join a breakout room. At the end, we'll come back into the main room to finish up. We'll just share the key points from each group and then some sharing of resources and finish the call so everyone can go and have their dinner and a cup of tea. So Ed, are you about ready with the breakout rooms? Excellent, thank you.
Nick, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You'll need to join room 1 automatically, I think. If you can click on breakout rooms, then hit room 1.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, sorry to cut those off. But really, really good to have those discussions. I think it would be just a good opportunity. I think we've probably got time. If you are a lead facilitator, feel free to add any sort of key discussion points. I think from our group, from the bits where our sort of conversations went in different places, but I think the opportunity in terms of what the network is doing and sharing good practice, but all those networking opportunities has been found really useful. And I think Carrie made the point then that what came through strongly throughout the presentations is the youth voice. And she mentioned we're all guilty of it. We go out and we think, right, this is going to be brilliant, but have we spoken to those young people? Is that what they want? Is that a place that they want to be active? Is it an activity that they want? And I think that's something that we can all probably learn from and take that time before launching projects to go and engage, even if it's a small group, and you've done some consultation, or utilize those partners and the resources. And we'll share some resources, not just the Youth Sport Trust Youth Voice Toolkit, but some of the other ones that you might want to utilize and get out there. Active Sussex ourselves, we're trying to utilize existing youth boards to try and get that youth's insight and their thoughts on sport and physical activity. So those were a couple of things in my group. Gemma, are you there? Did you have any key points you wanted to feedback from your group?
Yeah, everyone was kind of, really saying how fantastic the presentations were, some really great insights and some key kind of takeaways already. There was quite a resounding kind of response to about the leadership. And especially looking at that at the primary school level. So, it sounds like that's something that's quite common at that secondary school level, but not necessarily, at primary school. So that's something that some of the areas and schools could kind of think about putting in place. And then I suppose going back to that student and that pupil voice, around it's sometimes hard to kind of understand the barriers when you as maybe a sporty person have had such a positive experience in sport and physical activity. So really trying to step inside the shoes of those young people to understand why they might not be having that same kind of passion or engagement with sport and physical activity that you might have. So just taking kind of that step back and reflecting. And the final one was really about that kind of holistic approach and really focusing on, obviously, the sport and physical activity can play, a bigger part in terms of mental well-being and other kind of opportunities for young people.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're going to I'm conscious that we've not got long left and I want to get away on time. So I'm just going to reshare my screen to wrap up today, but thank you for sticking with us. So here are some resources. Now, not going to go through all of these, obviously, but please do refer back to, we'll send these presentation slides out it includes all the links to the videos. You'll get a copy of Sarah's recorded presentation, so I'd advise you to go back and listen to that. But as you can see, we sort of categorized it into resources, youth voice, and some training. So do go away and have a look. Just a couple of the ones I think I'll just quickly reference is, obviously, we've got the This Girl Can Studio U platform that was launched recently for those PE teachers out there. I think it's really good resource. Actually, it's completely free to access. So do have a look at that, and if you're using it, let us know. We'd love to hear about how that's going. Some of the resources that Naomi talked about earlier are included in there, the Girls Active resources and also the Youth Voice toolkits. And then just finally, if it is a training need and you're thinking that maybe you need to train up yourself or your staff, there are a couple of courses that are available. You've got the Street Games, Engaging Women and Girls online training, which can be accessed, and there will be a new course launched in partnership with Women in Sport and Accelerate Sport, engaging teenage girls in sport in the new year. So do take a bit of time to have a look at that and click through. And if you've got any questions or want to discuss anything further, please get back in touch. So finally, next steps for the network. If you haven't done so already, please do sign up as a promoter. We really want as many individuals and organisations to sign up and really shout about that message. So any posts that you do on social media, please do use that hashtag. We really want to create that movement, and it's really good for others to be able to see what's going off across the county. We had a discussion about this in our breakout room around This Girl Can Sussex Champions and what's happening with that. Now, we recognise that we're probably lacking some of the younger women to share their voices. 2 of our champions that we'd recruited have unfortunately had to leave, so we will be reopening that in 2022. We are open to potentially working with you to recruit some teenage champions. There are safeguarding implications with this that we would have to put in place. But yeah, we would love to work with you on that and to really try and use them to share their lived experiences and become those influencers locally and within their schools. You know, any teachers out there, I'm sure you're working with some fantastic teenage girls that might be interested, so please do get in touch. The next forums, we going to take a bit of a break obviously over Christmas and everything, but we will look to run another one, so please do get in touch if there's any themes that you think we should be covering. You know, perhaps it might be that we all just get together for a networking session next time and sharing ideas and good practice, but if there are any themes that you'd like to see, please get in touch. We're always open to suggestions. And then finally at the bottom there, the Active Sussex Network, pleased to announce that this will return to a face-to-face event. Exact date TBC, but it's end of February, beginning of March, so do keep an eye out for that, and we will let you know. And then just very quickly, I'd like to say a huge thank you for all of you for attending today. I know 4 to 6 p.m. is a difficult time for many with school runs and everything else, so we really appreciate you taking the time to come along and discuss this important issue. A huge thank you to our presenters, Naomi Bolton, our good practice presenters, Katie, Sarah and Natalie. Please do follow up with them if you want any further information or want to collaborate with them separately. And then a final thank you to my Active Sussex colleagues who have supported the call today, particularly Gemma and Ed, who's managed the IT side, which quite frankly, I couldn't do without. So huge thank you to them. We will be sending out all the slides, the resources and a recording and a feedback form. Please do take the time to complete that feedback form. That really gives us the insight in whether you're enjoying these sessions and what we can do better and what we can look to do more of in 2022. We hope you all have a lovely Christmas and New Year. The countdown is officially on. I'll be going to put my tree up this evening. So have a lovely evening and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.